So I think a lot of programs will say, do you know how to squat? Oh yeah, I back squat 400 pounds. And then you watch it and it's like, oh, wow, they back squat 400 pounds, but it sucks.
Yeah.
And maybe they could back squat 5 right now.
Yeah.
You know, and so that kind of stuff is often ignored just because back squat is thought to be a simple movement. These movements are thought to be simple movements. Yeah. But they should be coached just like the snatch and the clean and jerk should.
Yeah. And so some of our, like if you watch some of the stuff, we haven't really covered any of it, but like, so Phil likes to do a lot of variations of the squat. So like quarter, half full, lots of pauses. Yeah. And if you've ever played around with that stuff, if you're not in the right positions, like
you might look like a taco.
Yeah.
You might look like a folding chair that I will sit on and drink a beer while.
All right, guys, welcome back to Jerk Block Talk. I'm Jason Fernandez here with Phil Sabatini, and Phil and I were just having some couch time talking about his love for faculty meetings. But we were just having an interesting discussion because Phil has just recently redesigned our kind of beginner program. So I'll kind of let you talk about that a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, it's 7 weeks, and we kind of take this. The same way we teach the lifts is the same way the intro program was developed. So we use this method called whole practice, you know, and so
so say that again.
Whole practice.
Whole part,
so
whole
it's
practice.
Based on the premise of teaching. It's something I learned back when I was in a physical education major about having them do a movement that's a gross movement just to feel it out, to feel what it's supposed to kind of feel like. And then you break it down into parts to teach it successfully and efficiently, and then you go back and redo the whole once the parts are proficient. And it's the same way that we designed our intro program. So it's a 7-week long program that the first week is it's the whole. It's just the basic movements, you know, from the hang and even from the floor. And I don't expect the lifters to know exactly what they're doing, but it's just to get a feel. Because when you go into the part, they should have an understanding of what it felt like. Maybe they accidentally did it right, and you can
reinforce
it, or you can, you know, give them little tidbits of things that you're going to work on through the intro program, and this is what you're doing and how we're going to fix it, kind of thing. So it's 7 weeks long. The first week is the whole. It's just basic movements from the hang and the floor.
Are we doing all power? Are we squatting?
We do a little bit of both.
Okay.
Yep. If they're able to. Now the first week we'll have like some snatch, grip, jerk plus overhead squat or some snatch balance. So we'll get a chance to see if they can get into a proper overhead position. Yep. And if they can, we'll introduce the squat snatch.
Okay.
And then the next 2 weeks we will do all positional work. You know, so it's not just
sucks. I've done it. Yeah, it's not fun.
A lot of pauses from the different positions, whether it's below the knee at separation or at mid thigh. You know, so there's a lot of distinct characteristics that we're looking for there, because just because the bar is at the top of the thigh doesn't mean you're in the proper high hang position, for example. You know, we want to see that, we want to talk about weight distribution, we want to talk about chest and torso position and stacking that with the pelvis and things like that. So first 2 weeks are positional, and we get a chance to go through all of those positions and how exactly you should feel in those. And so that's a big part of the part with the practice. Then the next 2 weeks we introduce some no contact variations of the lifts, because we're working on the second part of the lift, which is the drive phase. Yeah. Now we learn positions, and we're working on properly pushing our feet through the floor rather than banging the bar with the hips, which is a really common error that we see with people that
go back there. Go ahead.
That we see with people that have sort of either taught themselves or started doing the lifts without the proper positional work.
Here.
We're a family organization here.
So group parenting here at Crossfit.
Right. So 2 weeks of no contact drills to properly reinforce the drive. Then the last 2 weeks we move into the no feet variations of the lifts to learn how to properly pull under the bar. And I think that's something that is lacking in a lot of programs.
Yeah.
We always are focused on pushing into the floor correctly and driving the bar, and then it's just like, then what? You know, we disconnect ourselves from the bar. So.
So let's talk about that. So I've been through some of that, and so just so you guys are kind of understand, it is very, very typical or not atypical for athletes to kind of like get worse during a lot of these transitions. So they're learning new positions or sometimes reteaching the proper position. So I actually went through this and right about that like 4 to 5 week mark, like you suck at everything. Like nothing feels right. You're always in the wrong position. You find out where you're actually supposed to be. So this is one of those scenarios where like you as the coach, when you start implementing this process, you have to know that you're going to deal with a lot of frustration in the 4 to 5 week mark where athletes like, because they're at this point, we're not really allowing them to just muscle the weight overhead. It's positional. They need to be in the right position. And when they are in the right position, they're not going to be able to move the same weights that they would in those poor positions. And then they'll get stronger later. But there's a lot of frustration. I've been through it. I understand it. So you as a coach, you're going to kind of need to manage that with your athletes as they go through.
It should come with a little disclaimer. Like you're going to get worse before you get better, especially if you've developed a lot of bad habits. So much more difficult to go back and relearn how to do it correctly when it's been ingrained and do it incorrectly. The other thing that I like about the first 2 weeks being a lot of positional work with pauses and stuff, it acts as a little bit of a governor, so that they can't just load the weight. I mean, they are exhausted and we're not really doing much, and it's just from all the isometric holds,
the pauses and the hangs, the volume's a little bit higher,
correctly, and that's tiring. And so it's they don't really want to load and put weight on there. They want to learn how to do it correctly, so they're not as tired.
And then after they finish that 7 weeks, then we'll start talking about like adding load, introducing more like of the core.
From there, we have a bunch of different programs. We have one for really experienced athletes, and even if they come to us with a lot of experience, I still have them do the intro program because it just gives us an opportunity to work a little more one-on-one with coaches and the terminology and how I coach, how they lift, kind of thing. So even elite athletes will go through a little bit of an intro program. From there, we can go a bunch of different ways. We have developmental programs, we have more intermediate programs, and I do have some that are more advanced. So
and then from your experience, like what are some of kind of the common mistakes with kind of like beginner programs that you've seen?
Easily is loading too soon. Load too soon, and then ignoring some basic things that are easy to reinforce, like weight distribution, and missing the positional work. I think it's challenging to just start an athlete from the floor, and then you're trying to coach it from the bottom up. You're trying to say, well, no, that's not right from that position, and then it gets higher, and that's not right either. Whereas you're spending so much time doing that, and if you would have just done it correctly the first time and worked from the top down, it would be a lot easier.
And I think that's probably beneficial for some people that are newer coaches who are going to introduce this kind of coaching style, because if your eye is not trained enough to see the full movement, you need the positional work just as much as the athlete needs it, because it's a lot easier to see half of the snatch than it is to see the full movement from the floor, especially if you have some faster athletes. So it goes both ways. It allows you to identify some faults a little bit better, and it also allows the athlete to emphasize those positions too.
And let's not ignore just the personal, the one-on-one aspect of the intro program. It gives you a chance to really get to know your athletes and what their deficiencies are. You can laugh a little bit, and as a coach, you're going to have to say, that wasn't very good. That wasn't a great rep, and it should come with a little bit of humor to it, because it is something that's new a lot of times, and so it gives you a chance to,
it's frustrating, like I said. Like
really get to know each other.
They're not going to feel good about themselves when they're kind of like relearning some of the movements. So it's just something to be thinking about. Trying to think of other stuff that we've talked about as far as like when we get athletes that come into our new program and are like, they had you doing what?
And that, and just even, our intro program it's not just geared for the lifts, it's geared for the strength stuff too. It's geared for like press position versus front squat position. It's geared towards proper weight distribution in the squat and the torso position in the squat and things like that are lacking. I mean, so I think a lot of programs will say, do you know how to squat? Oh yeah, I back squat 400 pounds. and then you watch it and it's like, wow, they back squat 400 pounds, but it sucks.
Yeah.
And maybe they could back squat 5 right now.
Yeah.
You know, and so that kind of stuff is often ignored just because back squat is thought to be a simple movement. These movements are thought to be simple movements, but they should be coached just like the snatch and the clean and jerk should.
Yeah. And so some of our, like if you watch some of the stuff, we haven't really covered any of it, but like, so Phil likes to do a lot of variations of the squat. So like quarter, half full, lots of pauses. And if you've ever played around with that stuff, if you're not in the right positions, like
you might look like a taco.
Yeah.
You might look like a folding chair that I will sit on and drink a beer while.
Yeah, it's just so difficult to do, especially if you're going to be moving like high percentage in some of those movements. I mean, like the jerks, like the pause.
Yes.
It's just, it's terrible.
Positional work is hard.
It's super hard, especially at high percentage. But what it's really going to do is expose those kind of like minor technique errors that you have, but it's going to make you realize that they're not minor. They're actually very, very like they're substantial. So.
And the great thing about doing an intro program is that what you see is what you get. If the athlete can't do it correctly at something as low as 60%, then there's no way you should expect them to be able to do it at a higher percentage than anyone.
And nor should you even probably. What's the point of going to a higher percentage at that point? Like, don't even load them up to that point.
Right.
So, cool. Yeah, we just wanted to discuss that because Phil just redid that program and retooled it. So, what's the major difference between this one and the one we were doing?
It's a little bit longer, and we spend more time on no contact and no feet variations.
The other one was 4 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah. So we went from 4 weeks to 7 weeks.
And it was all positional. It just changed after 2 weeks. So it's 2 weeks of this type of positional work, and then 2 weeks of another type of positional work.
Yeah.
And now it's 2 weeks positional, 2 weeks with some positional stuff, and then we add in some no contact to reinforce, and then 2 weeks of no feet to get that third cool down, pull under the bar effectively. So it's a little more detailed, and I think it'll give us more bang for our buck once we get out of it, and they'll be ready to go.
More people at the AO, more people at Nationals.
That's right. Let's go.
Cool. So we just wanted to talk about that real quick. So if you're a new coach, consider kind of like how you're putting together your intro program. If you don't even have an intro program, you should probably do that. If you have questions about ours, you can hit up Phil, hit us up in the comments, and we'll get you in contact with him. But other than that, it's a lot of people just like to skip over this kind of thing because it's not sexy, it's not cool.
Right, exactly. I did want to say that when you have an athlete that comes in and tells you that they don't need positional work, then they obviously they're not ready to work. They're not ready to work hard and get better at the craft, because everybody, even the elite level athletes of all kinds, are doing segmented positional work, 100%. And it should never be ignored. So very important, not just in the introduction, but all the way through, all the time.
Cool. Like I said, if you guys have any questions about this, please hit us up. If you like this content, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.